Hey, welcome. I guess this is the Chris and Eric coffee time. We're drinking coffee. You're watching. And I'm Eric Hastings. I'm with the Hastings Growth Team. And I help individuals and companies get better at revenue. They get better at sales. They get better at leadership. And I'm sitting here with my friend Chris. Take it away, Chris.
Sure, yeah. Just so everybody knows, I offered Eric top billing, the Eric and Chris show, but I was taller, so I won out.
Well, I deferred. Chris and Eric sounds better.
Yeah. Earlier in the alphabet. Yeah.
Could be.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, so my name is Chris Makoviak, and I'm a real estate broker here in Portland. And my specialty is condos. And Eric and I have known each other for a while now, and I really appreciate the chance to bounce ideas off someone that has so much experience, so much been there, done that, and that's certainly Eric. So I asked him this the other day. Hey Eric, I have this space of time when I'm first getting to know a potential client, and I'm trying to figure out how best to utilize it.
Right.
And that space of time is what Eric and I are now calling the hallway conversation. And it occurs in condos when, unlike a house where you'll meet somebody at the front door and then let them in, and then they're kind of out on their own. They're out. They're checking out the house, and you're in there. But in a condo, generally you'll have this. You'll meet them at the outside door. You'll take them through a hallway, you'll go up an elevator, and then you'll go through another hallway, and then you'll be at the door. So you have this time that you kind of have to figure out what to do with.
Yeah, and depending upon how long the hallways are, how long the conversation. And my thing with sales is don't be like everybody else. So in a situation like this, don't talk about the weather. And if you're here in Portland like we are, you're usually talking about the rain. So don't be like everybody else. Don't bring up weather talk, or don't bring up the typical things. I think Chris had some really good ideas on how to set an agenda, but without setting a script. So what do you think, Chris?
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. That the space of time is really a nice opportunity if you're willing to see it like that. And instead of dead space, I decided I was going to find some questions to ask to make sure I asked during this time we had there. And so what I do is I come up with a list, and I call it my circumstantial script. And I don't know that I've ever seen that term anywhere, but that's just what I call it.
I like that. Please Google that.
Yeah, it sounds very salesy, right?
Yeah, check it out.
Right, or at least kind of highbrow. Yeah, and so it doesn't mean much. It just means that I take a few minutes before meeting to write out a few questions on my computer, usually 3, that I want to make sure I ask.
Depending upon how long the hallway is, you may only get through 1, or geez, if you got a big building, a long walk, maybe all 3?
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, and we joked about this earlier. You could get caught in the elevator, and then you need 4 or 5.
Yeah, then you need a whole nother thing then too.
Yeah,
but,
we'll need to sell them a car.
You do something else, but that'll be a different conversation. So anyway, the hallway conversation, I like that. Come up with at least 3 questions that you can ask them.
So, and what I've started doing now is, the first question I always ask someone is, hey, have you been in this building before? And that sounds like a very obvious question.
Yeah.
But I actually, initially I wasn't asking it. And
it's one that makes sense. What is their familiarity? It goes back to my thing with always, how does that feel? Is it because they had a good feeling?
Right. Yeah, it's amazing how much you can learn from that question, right? Because you can get an answer like, no, I've never been in a condo building in my life, and this seemed cool, yada, yada, yada. And you're like, okay, if that's what you hear, you're like, I'm not only going to need to explain the unit itself, but I'm going to need to explain condos, how condos actually work. Yeah, the HOA, and just the whole condo process is just different than normal
Well,
houses.
it appears to be a yes or no question, but it really is open-ended in that the response will lead you to ask additional questions and really open the conversation up.
Yeah, and conversely, we said that our hypothetical person number one
Yeah.
had never been in a condo building. Hypothetical person number two could say, yeah, I've been in this building a million times. My friend Susie lives on the 8th floor. We go to dinner there all the time. I know this building like the back of my hand. And when I hear that, I think, okay, they're familiar with the building. They likely understand how condos work. Maybe we can skip a couple steps. Maybe
Right.
they already have a really
Yeah.
clear idea of what they want, and I don't need to basically slow everything down by trying to explain stuff they already know.
Which is good. So I think that's a good summary of what we call the hallway conversation. Don't talk about the weather. Don't be like everybody else. That's a good message for sales in general. And so what do you think, Chris? Call it a wrap?
Call it a wrap, yeah.
Hey, we're done.